Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, We Are Our Own Worst Enemy. I have always heard the saying, we are our own worst enemy. And it's even a song by the band Lit, and that song talks about bad things happening to him and realizing he did it to himself, like drunk driving. Because a lot of the time, whether we want to admit it or not, the problems we face in life come from ourselves. They don't fall from the sky, and they aren't always the result of some external conspiracy against us. More often than not, they are born from the choices we make, the words we say, and the actions we fail to take. 9 times out of 10, the struggles we wrestle with are wounds we've inflicted upon ourselves. They are scars carved by our own hands, consequences of decisions we made without thinking, or impulses we followed without restraint. It's uncomfortable to acknowledge, but it's true. We like to imagine that life is unfair because of other people, because of systems, because of circumstances beyond our control. And yes, sometimes that's the case. But far more often, the pain we carry is self-inflicted. We make the wrong choices. We say the wrong things. We ignore the right path, even when it's staring us in the face. We choose actions that lead us into situations we later regret. We walk into traps we set for ourselves, and then we complain about being caught. We point fingers outward, but the truth is, the finger should be pointed inward. The accountability lies with us. It's like that old cowboy wisdom, listen up, folks, your problems are your own damn fault. As blunt as it sounds, it's a statement that carries weight. It cuts through excuses and forces us to confront reality. The truth is rarely gentle, but it is always necessary. Let me give you an example. Imagine applying for a credit card. At first it feels liberating. You're buying things, enjoying the freedom of swiping that card, feeling empowered by the illusion of financial flexibility. It feels good. It feels like progress. But then you spend too much. You push the card to its limit. Maybe it was only $100 card, maybe more, but you max it out. Suddenly, you owe hundreds of dollars to the credit card company. The joy of spending turns into the burden of debt. And then, instead of owning up to the mistake, you start looking for someone to blame. You blame the credit card company for not stopping you. You blame them for not putting stricter limits in place. You blame the system, the rules, the employees, anyone but yourself. You invent excuses that sound reasonable in your head but collapse under scrutiny. The reality is simple. That was your fault. That was your choice. That was a wound you inflicted on yourself. No one forced you to spend beyond your means. No one tricked you into debt. You walked into it willingly, and now you have to face the consequences. This pattern repeats itself in countless lives. People suffer, and instead of acknowledging their role in creating the suffering, they externalize the blame. They point outward when they should be looking inward. It's easier to accuse others than to confront ourselves. I saw this firsthand in my own family. When I was younger, living with my parents and my sister, my father lost our house to the bank. Whose fault was that? It wasn't the bank's fault. It wasn't the government's fault. It wasn't some mysterious force conspiring against us. It was my father's fault. He didn't make the payments required to keep the house. He made poor financial choices. He invested in the wrong things. He ignored responsibilities that couldn't be ignored. And eventually, the bank took the house. That was a self-inflicted wound. He brought it upon himself. He couldn't blame anyone else. He couldn't point to the bank and say they were unfair. He couldn't point to the economy and say it was rigged against him. The truth was clear. He failed to do what was necessary, and he paid the price. That's accountability, whether we like it or not. Another example, alcohol. Imagine someone who drinks excessively every day. They go to the store, buy alcohol, drink it relentlessly, and ignore the warnings. Their body begins to fail. Their kidneys are on the verge of collapse. Their health deteriorates. And then, instead of acknowledging their role in destroying their own body, they look for someone else to blame. They blame the people around them for not stopping them. They blame God for not intervening. They blame the companies that make alcohol. They blame the employees who sold it to them. They invent excuses that sound hollow even as they speak them. But the truth is undeniable. That's their fault. That's a self-inflicted wound. No one forced them to drink. No one poured the alcohol down their throat. They chose it day after day until their body broke down. That's accountability. You see, these examples aren't rare. They're everywhere. People sabotage themselves constantly, and then they scramble to find someone else to blame. It's a cycle of denial, a refusal to accept responsibility. But the truth doesn't bend to excuses. The truth remains. This isn't an episode where I need to say too much. The examples speak for themselves. Everyone already knows deep down that most of the problems they face are their own fault. They just don't want to admit it. They'd rather cling to excuses than face the mirror. I've spoken before about accountability, about the importance of taking responsibility for your actions. This is just another angle of the same truth. Responsibility isn't optional. It's the foundation of adulthood. Without it, we remain stuck in the mindset of children. And that's the problem. Too many adults refuse to act like adults. They cling to childish mindsets, expecting others to clean up their messes, expecting the world to bend to their mistakes. But adulthood demands accountability. It demands ownership of our choices. That's why I repeat myself. That's why I hammer this point home. Because repetition is necessary. People don't always listen the first time. They skip around, hear a minute here, 5 minutes there, and miss the heart of the message. So I say it again and again until it sinks in. My style is raw. I don't script these thoughts. I don't polish them into perfect speeches. I hit record, I speak, and whatever comes out is what comes out. It's unfiltered, unplanned, and real. That's the point. Authenticity matters more than perfection. And authenticity means saying the hard truths. It means reminding people that the pain they carry is often self-inflicted. It means refusing to let excuses cloud reality. It means demanding accountability even when people don't want to hear it. So let me remind you again. A lot of the problems you face are your own fault. A lot of the wounds you carry are wounds you gave yourself. A lot of the suffering you endure is suffering you created. That's not cruelty. That's truth. And truth, when faced honestly, is liberating. Because once you accept responsibility, you gain the power to change. You can stop blaming others. You can stop inventing excuses. You can start making better choices. You can start healing the wounds you inflicted. But until you accept responsibility, you remain stuck. You remain trapped in denial, repeating the same mistakes, suffering the same consequences, blaming the same people. Accountability is the key that unlocks growth. So this is my reminder. This is my rant. This is my raw truth. Take responsibility, own your choices. Stop blaming others for wounds you inflicted, because at the end of the day, the only person who can change your life is you. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moors October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.